Hey friends, happy Thursday and welcome back to another What's for Breakfast. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom of two, and these kinds of videos I used to share like on a monthly basis, but lately it's been like every couple of months. I think the last What's for Breakfast that I shared was back in April, and I've been trying to get this video out since like the end of May or beginning of June, but it just didn't happen. I ended up adding like one or two more breakfasts to it. But I typically make the same thing for breakfast pretty much every morning. It's like eggs, toast, and fruit. But lately the kids don't want eggs, so they eat like Greek yogurt or something for some protein. I typically still eat eggs every morning for breakfast though. And my husband Andy is gone most mornings for breakfast. He eats breakfast burritos, which I will leave a video down below where I've shown that before. So I don't cook like these types of breakfasts every day. These are like a once a week or once every 2 week kind of deal for myself because I'm not a morning person, so I don't want to do a bunch of work in the morning. And I just am also a creature of habit. I like my same old breakfast every morning. But I do have some delicious breakfast to share with you today, so I hope you will stay tuned for that. And if you have any ideas of some breakfast recipes you think my family might like, leave those in the comments down below. I'm always looking for new recipes to try. The first breakfast recipe that I have to share with y'all is a chorizo hash recipe. So I am starting off by cutting up about 2 pounds of potatoes into about 1-inch chunks. I just wanted them to be all about equal size. And then once I get all these cut up, I'm going to add them to a big pot of boiling water that I did salt. And then I just let these simmer for about 10 minutes until the potatoes were pretty much cooked all the way through. They were nice and tender. And then I will just drain them and set them to the side. So while my potatoes were cooking, I started working on my chorizo. This is the chorizo I was using. I got it on sale at Kroger for like 99 cents. And I'm just adding that to a skillet over a medium heat. And I'm going to break it up and let that cook over that medium heat for quite a few minutes until it starts to get like kind of crispy in some places. And then once it starts to like crisp up and everything, I'm going to remove it from the pan, leaving any oil behind so that that can help kind of season our potatoes, because we're going to end up frying our potatoes in that oil. So there actually wasn't a lot of grease or like oil left behind from my chorizo sausage, so I ended up adding in a little bit of oil and letting that heat up. And then once it was hot, I added my potatoes to the pan along with some seasoning. I did some garlic powder, some paprika, some onion powder, and some salt and pepper. And I tossed those in that oil to make sure they were all nice and coated. And then I just let them sit, trying not to stir them. I am a very impatient person and sometimes like flip things over, especially like potatoes, before they're ready, but you want them to get good and crispy, so you want to try to move them around as little as possible. You also like don't want them to fall apart too much. So once I got them to the crispiness that I wanted, then I just added that chorizo back in, gave it a good stir, and then this was ready to eat. We topped this with some cheese and then an egg for myself and my husband. The kids did not want eggs. They were not about that life. They just wanted theirs with cheese. Everybody loved this. This was really good. On mine, I did like a super runny egg, and that was perfect. So good. If you like a little bit of spice, I recommend this because chorizo is a little bit spicy, but the chorizo with the potatoes and the cheese and the egg was delicious. And then there was actually leftovers of this, so the next day I took some of that leftover potato and chorizo mixture and added it to a warmed up tortilla, topped it with some shredded cheese and then a little bit of scrambled eggs, and just rolled that up into a burrito. And it was very good as a burrito as well. You could like make a bunch of these and freeze them and do that for your breakfast burrito if you want. Andy said that sounded like a good idea. I also topped this with some like Taco Bell sauce. It was very good. Next up, I have a blueberry breakfast bundt cake. So I'm starting off with 2 cups of blueberries here, and to that I'm adding 1 tablespoon of flour and then just tossing that so they're all nice and coated with that. And we'll be adding that to our cake mixture later. Then in the bowl of my stand mixer, I am going to beat together some sugar and butter. The recipe for this that I'm using will be listed out in the description box down below, so y'all can go down there and get the exact measurements. But I'm just going to beat that together for about 4 to 5 minutes until it is light and fluffy. Then I turn my speed down to like low and add in my eggs one at a time. I did 4 eggs, so I just crack them in a glass dish and then pour them in one at a time. And then I also added in my vanilla and just let that continue to mix until everything was well combined. I was actually making this cake at night and I wanted to use as few dishes as possible. So for the next step, I am mixing together my dry ingredients, which are flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And instead of doing it in another bowl that I would have to wash, I just did it on a paper plate because I'm just going to be dumping this into the wet stuff. And I really did not want to dirty too many dishes since I had already done most of the dishes for the day. I wanted very few to do after making this. So once I had that all mixed together, then I added my oil to my wet mixture, and then I am slowly going to add my dry ingredients, alternating with some sour cream. So I did about 1/3 of the dry ingredients, and then half of the sour cream, another 1/3 of the dry ingredients, the remaining half of the sour cream, and then the last 1/3 of the dry ingredients. And I just beat that together until everything was nice and combined. And then once it was, then I took those blueberries that I had mixed with the flour before and just carefully folded those in. Don't want to mix it too much. You just want your blueberries added into there. And now I've got my Bundt pan and I am making sure that I grease it really, really well with some cake goop. I will have the recipe that I use for this down below. It's flour and shortening and oil, if I remember correctly. It's been a little while since I made this batch, but I will leave the recipe for that down below. I use it anytime I make a cake and it never sticks to the pan. And when you're working with a Bundt pan like this with all these grooves and stuff, it definitely helps because it can be very hard to get this thing greased properly. So once it was all greased, then I just added in my cake mix, and then I just kind of tap it on the counter to make sure that it all settles down into it. And then this went in the oven at 350 for about an hour. And then after the hour, I checked it. It was done. Toothpick came out clean. So this is what it looked like when it came out. And then I just turned this over and let it sit on a baking rack to cool, and then once it was cool, I was able to remove that pan. So here I am the next morning. I am making a glaze to go on top of this. This is just a simple powdered sugar and milk glaze. I did about 1 cup of powdered sugar, and I started with 3 teaspoons of milk and just added a little bit until I got to the consistency that I wanted. Here is what the cake looked like. You see I have one little spot that did get stuck to the cake pan. I must have missed it with the cake goop, but overall it turned out really, really well and it came out of the pan beautifully. So I just topped it with some of that glaze and then this was ready to eat. It was delicious. It was so like moist. I know some people don't like that word, but when you're describing cake, like what other word do you use? It was honestly so good. It was like a pancake basically, but in cake form. So we just had that with some scrambled eggs. Next up, I am going to be making a bacon and cheese quiche. If you remember a couple like grocery hauls back, I got a bunch of bacon on markdown. I also have a bunch of bacon in my freezer from Good Chop, so I'm trying to use bacon in new and different ways. So right here, I am just cooking up my bacon. I like to cook it in the oven, so I just put it on my sheet pan and then stick it in a cold oven, and then I do it at 425 for about 20 to 30 minutes. It really depends on how crispy you like the bacon and how thick your bacon is. The thicker the bacon, the longer it's going to take. So I just cook it until it's as crispy as I like it, which is pretty crispy. And then I will drain it on some paper towels to absorb any of that excess grease. Now for my quiche, I have a refrigerated pie crust that I have let sit out at room temperature according to the package directions, just to kind of soften it a little bit before rolling it out. And then I just got that in my 9-inch glass pie plate. And then to that pie crust, I am adding my full pound of bacon. I am just cutting it up with my kitchen shears. This is my favorite way to cut up bacon, whether cooked or uncooked, because I will cut it like raw, like beforehand. Sometimes I'm frying the bacon in the pan. But yeah, kitchen shears are one of my favorite tools. And then I am adding some cheese. Don't be like me. Don't try to keep the cheese in the plastic, because I accidentally grated some of the plastic and I had to pick that out. But I am adding some mozzarella cheese, some Parmesan cheese, and some cheddar cheese, about a half a cup of each. And then for my egg mixture, I am whisking together 4 eggs, a cup of milk, and some salt and pepper. And then I'm just going to pour that over the top of everything. And then this went in the oven on 350 for about 50 minutes until the eggs were like completely like set. And then I let this sit for about 10 minutes before slicing it up for everyone. This was so good. My family doesn't usually like quiche, and I think it's because I typically try to follow recipes that have too much going on. But this one was very simple, just basically bacon and cheese and like the egg mixture, and they loved it. So to go with it, we all just had some fruit, and I will definitely make this quiche recipe again. This is going in my book of favorite recipes. Last up, this recipe is for some Instant Pot blueberry oatmeal, and it is definitely the quickest and easiest recipe of the bunch. So to my Instant Pot, I am just adding 1 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1 cup of milk, 2 cups of water, half a cup to a cup of blueberries, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And then I'm just going to stir everything together really well. Put my lid on this and let this pressure cook for 10 minutes. And then once it was done, I also let it do a natural release for 10 minutes. And then I did a quick release to release any remaining pressure. And then you just open it and stir it all to combine. It doesn't look like super thick at first, but as you stir it together, it kind of thickens up. And I tasted this to see if we needed to add anything else to it, and to me it wasn't sweet enough, so I ended up adding a little bit of maple syrup to it, and then it was perfect. It was really, really good. I will definitely make this again. I will probably play around with like different fruits too. It just happens that blueberries were in season at this time, and I had a lot that I wanted to use up. So to serve this, I just topped it with a little bit of sliced banana and some granola. We really like the blueberry banana combo, and we all loved this. Well, I say all of us. Andy doesn't eat oatmeal. This was made on a day when he was at work. Me and the kids love this. We love oatmeal. So yeah, if you like oatmeal and you have an Instant Pot, I definitely recommend making oatmeal in your Instant Pot. This is the 2nd or 3rd time I've done it, and every time I do it, it turns out really good. And that is going to be it for this What's for Breakfast video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you got some new ideas of some things to try, let me know what you plan on trying in the comments down below. And as I said at the beginning, if you have any ideas of some things that my family might enjoy, let me know those in the comments down below as well. I hope that y'all have a good rest of the week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!